Recording in progress. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our free webinar, Ways of Building Trust in the HR Department. And welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time. Just a quick check. Are you all able to hear me? Can you do a quick or a thumbs up? Or just type 1 if you're able to hear me. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, let me just introduce myself. My name is Aimee Turla. I'm the project manager for Talent Reach. We are a human resource consulting company, and we provide free webinars such as this one, and also paid webinars, as well as in-house training programs, and also consultancy services. So if you would like to inquire about any of our services, just send us an email at italentreach@gmail.com. All right, just some reminders when joining our free webinars. So make sure that your audio is turned off or you are in silent, and your video is on mute. So, yeah, okay, very good, no? So I am not hearing any turned on audio. Okay, that's good. So without further ado, I'd like to share with you a short video introduction of our speaker for today. He is also Talent Reach Managing Director. So give me just a few seconds here. Let me share my screen. Oops. I think that's an incorrect video. Let me just pull it up. Here you go. All right, so let me now turn you over to Talent Reach Managing Director, Mr. Ronnie Turla, Certified Human Resource Professional.
Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our free webinar, Care of Talent Reach, entitled The Ways of Building Trust in the Human Resource Department. So again, we are scheduled to offer this free webinar. So we have been offering our free webinar since 2020 at the start of the pandemic, and we've had several free webinars already, over the years. And again, you may check out our Facebook page, which is Talent Reach, and you can check out the videos that we have so far produced for the past few years. And of course, we've conducted several paid webinars. So later on, please stay tuned so that you can know ano yung ating programs that we will be providing for the next coming months. It will be an exciting topic, and again, watch out for it later in our announcements. But for today, we have prepared a special topic that we wanted to offer you, especially for those who are joining us today. I'm seeing some new names and new well, I couldn't say new faces, no, because I couldn't see your faces, but new names, no, and I hope that you will find this free webinar. So we'll be together for the next 60 minutes or so, no. So that's our timeline for our free webinars, no. So I hope that you will find this program of help to you, especially if you are an HR manager, an HR leader, or an HR staff in that case. So also, if you are in the job of managing people, so this will be very applicable to you. Okay, so There. So I guess we're all good, and so far we are on track, and we have around 40 plus participants here in the room. So some people might still be coming in further. No? So let's again, no, welcome to everyone who's joining us for this afternoon. Okay. So without further ado, no, let me now jump into so far we have cleared out our mechanics for this program. Okay, so for any questions that you'll be raising for this program later on, you can use the chat box for questions that you might want to ask us, regarding the webinar. Okay, so let me upload our our webinar session for today. So again, the title of the webinar is Ways of Building Trust for the HR department. No? So again, the assumption that we have here is that you're either heading or leading a human resource department, no, or a team of HR. No, that's why we wanted to explore the aspect of building trust, no, in the HR department. Okay, so first off, we have to talk about the aspect of trusting. No? So managing HR responsibilities isn't always easy, no? But it can even be more difficult if employees have negative attitudes about HR. Okay? Can you kindly give me a thumbs up sign if you agree with the first statement? Okay? Or you can also type in the chat box, agree. Ayan. So especially for those who are handling, no, HR responsibilities in their own respective companies. Ayan. So I myself, I agree to this statement because I used to handle, the responsibility of an HR department. No? And I know that from direct experience that managing responsibility, especially, the responsibilities of managing people is not an easy task to do. No? That's why for those who are managing their teams of HR, you're doing a very good job in terms of handling people, no? And of course, no, sabi nga natin, we cannot avoid, no, having employees, comment about us, no? Especially, it is more difficult if people have negative attitudes about us, no? Now, in the next few minutes or so, no, I'd like you to expect to learn um, the 8 effective ways. No? So we are providing you 8 ways of building trust in the HR department. Okay? So, of course, before we start discussing the 8 steps, no, in this case, let's try to first define what building trust means. No? So, let's define trust. No? So trust is it's a conviction, no, that is built slowly. It is something that is developed over a long period of time through repeated interactions. No? So the question is, how can we build trust? No, especially under this circumstances that we have right now. In a very difficult times and challenging, no, for a lot of us. No? Now, recent studies have shown how acknowledging emotions of others can actually foster trust. No? The act of verbally recognizing someone else's feeling is perceived to be as an effortful act and can help you form deeper connections with them. So what is this telling us? No? So studies are telling us that once we acknowledge the emotion of other people, then we can build the trust. No? It doesn't mean that automatically people will trust us. No? But remember, no, trust is built through repeated interactions. So the more we become consistent in that acknowledging of emotions, then we can say that we're building trust. No? So we can imagine that trust is like a bank account. No? So a bank account, over a period of time, once you deposit money into it, no, eventually, of course, the bank will, continue to trust you. And because of that, when a bank sees that you are consistent in terms of what your deposits are, then most likely the company will trust you, and as well, it will try to offer services to you in this case. No? So that's how we build trust. Okay? Now, building trust here means that we acknowledge other people's emotions, and again, it can strengthen social relationship at work. No? Remember that acknowledging emotions will boost the trust more than acknowledging the situation. Okay? So again, this requires building trust is actually one of the reasons why we can improve our emotional intelligence. No? And by the way, on the side, I'd like to mention that aside from being a certified human resource professional, I have also been certified, no, in the fields of emotional and social intelligence, no, coming from the People Builders Institute based in Australia and also based in Denver, Colorado. Okay, and building trust, no, is one of the topics, no, that we discuss about emotional intelligence. Now, acknowledging negative emotions. This is very interesting. Acknowledging negative emotions boosts trust more than positive emotions. No? So what this means, for example, is if we acknowledge something, especially from an employee perspective, if a person provides us negative emotions, let's say for example, the person got angry at us, no, because of some things that they expected but did not or was not able to achieve. No? So in this case, we can see that when we acknowledge the negative emotion, they can see that we can be trusted. No? And I think that's an important part of being an HR and managing the HR department. So we need to acknowledge that we are not perfect, no, but we need to be able to be consistent in what we do. Now, in another study that I'd like to share with you, one of the major competencies that has been found out to define an HR professional is personal credibility. No? So, in building personal credibility in your job as an HR professional, there are three things that we need to remember. Okay, number one, you're able to build credibility when you build your company relationship based on trust. No? So very important that you nurture the trust that is given to you, no, and even to your position. No? The second thing, you develop personal credibility when you have good chemistry, with your management team. So that means that there's that certain chemistry that you have to build with your management team, that somehow they see you as being credible in what you do. Okay, and number three, another determinant of personal credibility is you work well in a team. Okay, so if you work well in a team, then definitely yung personal credibility natin goes up. No? So yung personal credibility natin establishes that we can be a trusted person, at least a trusted HR in our company. Okay, so that's something important for us to remember. So these are the three ways that we can build your personal credibility. Now, let's directly now go to the 8 steps. Okay, so I've set now the background of our topic of building trust. Okay, so the first step, no, or the first way, no, that we can build trust in the HR department, no, is number one, to communicate clearly and effectively. So what does this mean for us? So in communicating clearly and effectively, we have to be straightforward to our employees, no, and make sure that we communicate our policies, our practices in ways that employees will understand, no? Just like what, Stephen Covey has always mentioned, no? Seek to understand before being understood. So that's an important principle that I have learned over the years, no? That I have to seek to understand the perspective of the person that I'm talking to before I get understood. No? So being clear about what the company expects of employees and what they expect from the company. It's again, HR is a balancing act where we try to be in the middle and try to understand what management is trying to tell us, and at the same time what employees are asking from us. Okay, so in communicating clearly, we have to make sure that HR reinforces, the company's brand and aligns with the company values. No? So to help maintain trust, HR should always commit to a two-way communication and respond to employee questions, concerns, and requests promptly. Just to share with you, when it comes to company brands and company values, one thing that always sticks to my mind is when I joined one company, and one of the principle or one of the values that we always stick to is that we try to make it simple. Okay, what does that company value mean? So keeping things simple means that in terms of communication, we have to make sure that we communicate things to employees in a simple way that they can understand it. No? We take away the jargons, we take away things that will not contribute to the effective communication. So that is something that has always been a principle of mine. No? When we try to communicate something, always think about how can we make this simplified? How can we make this easy to understand? Okay, so that's number one. Number one way is that we communicate clearly and effectively. No? Now, when we talk about our message, when we come up with a message, we have to remember that the information that we provide to our employees should be first analyzed. Okay, when we analyze the information that we have, no, we are able to filter the message that we are providing to our employees. Okay, again, many conclusions can be drawn from raw information. Okay, that's why when you come up with a message to your employees, no, that is the output of analyzing the information that we have been provided. Okay, now one of the key points that I always try to make with regards to communication is to keep the story in a three storyline. No? So when you have one key message, for example, try to make sure that your message can be summarized into three. No? So why is the principle of keeping your communication into three, no? The magical number, what's the logic behind it? No? So here are some justifications for it. Number one, well, number three or three is an easy number to remember, right? So that's one advantage. Second, um, 3 points will make it easy to understand the link between the three things, right? So if you can connect the 3 points, it will be easier, for people to remember. Okay, just like remembering your phone numbers, right? So remembering your phone numbers, your first 3 digits, makes it easy, for you to remember it, no? And of course, additional points. Why do you have to make it 3 points? Because if you have too many points, additional points will actually expose you to a weaker argument. Okay, so when you have fewer things to justify, it's easy to really drive your communication. Okay, so again, remember, come up with one key message, no, and then try to identify 3 points that will make the communication clear and effective. Okay, so that's another tip for you. Now, always remember when you are communicating to a person, no, to always ask that question or at least consider what's in it for me, right? So, um, whenever you listen to a presentation, okay, the first thing that you should consider is, um, will the person listening to my presentation be interested? Okay, and if they are interested to listen to me, no, what's in it for them? Or yung WIFM. Okay? Second thing is to look at the benefit, no? So if they know there is benefit in what I'm trying to say, would they actually listen to me? Okay? So that's the second thing. And number three, if they fear there will be a negative consequence or pain for them of not listening, then probably they will listen to you. Okay? Remember, whenever you're talking to employees or to your audience will always decide if they should listen to your presentation in the first 45 seconds. Okay? So what does that mean for us? No? So that means the first 45 seconds when we communicate to employees, you should already, spell out, no, that number one, what you're going to tell them would be of interest to them. Number two, the things that you will be talking to them would be of benefit to them. Okay, and number three, they should not fear because you are there to be able to clarify. The purpose of the presentation is to clarify, things, that are have yet to be discussed to them. No? So these are the things that you can do so that they will listen to your presentation. So always remember interest, benefit, and fear. No? So whenever you'd want people to listen to you. Now, another thing that I'd like you to remember when it comes to, making your communication clear and effective, remember, not everyone is designed the same way. right? So if you will look at this diagram, you have to tailor your interaction to better engage, no, your stakeholders. So remember, some people will be amiable, some will be expressive, some will be analytical, some will be drivers, right? So this is a type of personality description that you can have, no? So kapag amiable yung person that you're talking with, you can begin a personal comment and break the ice, no? Present something very simple and non-threatening. Okay? Avoid rushing into the business itself, and do not force them to respond quickly, especially if they're an amiable person. Okay? If they're expressive, what you can do is you can try to provide warm and friendly environment to them. Okay, tell stories that relay information. Okay, avoid uh, being cold or tight-lipped. No, avoid also driving too much on the facts and the figure. Okay, so for people who are expressive, no, while for analytical or analytics, no, make sure that you prepare your work in advance. No, make sure that you stick, no, to the business itself. Be accurate, no, for people who are analytical, and they use diagrams, models, and to paint picture. Okay, for analytical person, try to avoid being disorganized and messy. No, they don't want that kind of presentation. Okay, for drivers, you have to be clear, specific, and to the point. No, stick to the business itself. Drivers normally are action oriented. Okay, so make sure that you do not appear to be disorganized. Do not leave loopholes into what you're trying to do. No, and make sure that you try to also adapt to them by being action oriented. Okay, so this model, for example, will help us to tailor, no, or to be flexible into our communication. So this is an important thing that we have to remember. For us, for people to trust us, we have to be seen also as flexible, especially in terms of our communication. Okay? So I hope this makes sense to you, no? So itong mga different characteristics na to will help you adjust your way of or communication with regards to dealing with your employees. Okay? So that's way number one. Okay? So communicate clearly and effectively. Way number two is to think strategically. Okay? In thinking strategically, no, remember that HR in the past was mostly looked at as purely transactional. No? So if you look at the history of HR from years back, you can see that mostly our role as HR was focused on record keeping, benefits administration. No? But HR has increasingly been taking a more strategic role at many companies, and they're providing insights about employees' needs and how decisions may impact employees. So these days, HR practitioners will help create policies and practices, develop strategies for finding, for training, and motivating and retaining employees. So that's a reality for us. So that's why if you're in HR, you cannot afford not to think strategically. No? So that's way number two, no? To build the trust. Now, when we talk about strategic thinking, okay, remember, these are questions that we have to remember, diba? So, when we are engaging in strategic thinking, we ask questions that are very key. No? So, like for example, the mga questions that you can see here in the slide are, questions that will trigger something about the company. No? So, what are the strengths of the company? Who do we want to be as a company? No, what makes us unique? So these are questions that will trigger our strategic thinking. Okay? Now, remember, when you talk about strategic thinking is a way of understanding the fundamental drivers of the organization. Okay? And strategic thinking is challenging the conventional thinking in a very constructive dialogue. So that means when you do strategic thinking, you try to challenge the current norms or what is present, no? The current reality. Okay? So remember, when you engage in strategic thinking, you try to focus on developing opportunities not just right now, but in the future. And remember, this kind of strategic thinking is not a one-way thing. No, we have to engage the company, no, through our employees in a dialogue. Okay, so that means that we try to communicate with them what we're thinking in terms of strategy. No? So very important for us to engage when we have this kind of strategic thinking. Okay, now the starting points of your strategic thinking, no, for me is the clarity of your purpose. Okay? So if you're engaging in strategic thinking, kailangan tatandaan natin uh, the following things. No? So, number one, uh, be clear about your organizational mission. Okay? So you have to ask this. You have to know what the mission and vision of your companies are. No? So yung mission, vision, values are important starting point for uh, thinking strategically. Okay? So kailangan, babalikan mo yon. Ano yung fundamental mission, vision, and values ng company? And at the same time, you have to define who your customers are. Okay? Ano ba yung kailangan nila? What their needs are? Ano rin yung value that you would add in meeting those needs? And of course, what skills are required to add that value? So everything that I'm talking about here can be contained in our mission statement. Okay? So let me ask you, this very simple question. Okay? Um, do we understand the mission statement of our company? Okay? So you can have a thumbs up if you do understand the mission statement of your company, so that I can see. No, we can see. No, so very important for us. No? So that is the starting point of thinking strategically. Dapat alam mo kung ano yung mission and vision of your company. Okay, very important in our role in HR. Now, when we talk about HR being a strategic, no, or thinking strategically, there are three primary competencies. No, if we want to be seen as a strategic partner for our business, the three things that we have to possess as an HR professional are the following. No, number one, we have to possess business mastery. Okay? Meaning, for the company that we're in right now, no, if we want to be strategic for the business, we have to know what the business is all about. Okay? That's one of the core competencies. The second, as mentioned, is personal credibility. So that means, no, that we have to walk our talk. Meaning that whatever we're trying to say, we have to know that we can try to really deliver it. Okay? And number three, core competencies is the HR mastery. So it's very important for us to have, no, the following core competencies. Okay? If we want to be seen as being a strategic partner for the business. So again, the three are business mastery, personal credibility, and HR mastery. No? So that's part of thinking strategically, no, for the business, so that we can be trusted as an HR department. Okay? So that's the second way, no, of establishing trust in the HR department. Okay? Well, we now go to number three. Okay? Number three is delivering policies that will improve employee satisfaction. Okay? Remember, how employees feel about their job and their employer, no, can have a very significant effect or impact on the productivity, absenteeism, and turnover of the company. No? Remember, let me state this, pay isn't the only driver of job satisfaction. Okay? In some cases, it may not even be at the top of the list. No? Although some people, some HR would, definitely have a different opinion about this. No? Saying that, definitely for some of our employees, of course, pay, is the driver of job satisfaction. Pero things like autonomy, no? A fair and equitable workplace, challenging work, recognition, okay, and a company's commitment to social responsibility may also be strong motivators, right? So we have to find out what inspires your employees and develop policies, practices, and benefits accordingly. Okay? So, again, if you are going to achieve itong way of trying to deliver policies um, that improves job satisfaction, I invite you to actually consider conducting an employee satisfaction survey. Okay? So an employee satisfaction survey can actually be your springboard to creating policies. Okay? Why do I say that? No? Because when you conduct an employee satisfaction survey, you're able to assess generally what are the satisfier and dissatisfier from the perspective of the employee. Okay? When you conduct an employee satisfaction survey, what you're able to dig up from the perception of employees is what policies or practices of the company can actually lead to job satisfaction. Okay? Remember, as an HR, one of our role is to be able to drive employee satisfaction. Okay? Because, employee satisfaction has a direct impact in terms of customer satisfaction. Okay? So remember, if we are to deliver policies that will improve satisfaction, we should first understand what is driving the satisfaction of our employees. Okay? So, again, I encourage you to be able to conduct your employee satisfaction. So at this point, I think it's important for us to consider that, na if we're reviewing our policies, mas maganda siguro na tanungin natin, ano kaya yung mga areas that employees would really want to review yung kanilang mga policies. Okay? Ayan. So, okay, let me quote, I think Fatima is also commenting, so let me acknowledge her. And she says, you can conduct periodic stay interviews with your employees. Tama yun, because sometimes, instead na intayin mo na the person will choose to leave the company, you'd rather hear out people on what will make them stay. Okay? So, these particular practices could actually help us drive, employee satisfaction. Okay, so thank you, Fatima, for sharing that one with us. Okay. Let me just check. Ayan. Okay, so let me just check. Are we still good? Can you give me a thumbs up sign if we're still good in terms of listening? Ayan. I'm just adjusting my mouse here. I think relatively it's not working very well. Ayan. Okay. So, sige. So, let me continue. So, let's continue our discussion. Ayan. Okay. So again, way number 3 in terms of building trust is creating policies that will improve satisfaction. So that's another thing that we have to remember. Okay, let me just adjust my okay. There. Okay, so there. Sorry for that. Minor technical problem. Okay, so when it comes to policies, it's very important for us that when we implement HR policies in the company, number one, we need to consider the HR function and its policy document. So whenever we implement policies for the company, we have to consider what are the HR functions that will promote this type of policies. Okay? Number 2, in terms of HR policies, it's important na our line managers enact such policies kasi without the buy-in of our managers, our HR policies would be only as good as the policies of HR. Okay? Remember, policies of the company has to be supported by the line manager or department managers. So the enactment of line managers is important for us. Okay? And finally, number 3 perspective in HR policies would be the employee experience. Okay? So the employee experience, no, they should feel that there is really that kind of equality. Dapat nararamdaman nila that the policies itself is working for them, no? So that's one way that employees will trust, no, the HR department. So every time that we create policies or guidelines, we have to remember what would be the experience of the employee. Ano yung effect sa employee? So, yan yung kailangan nating tandaan when it comes to implementing our HR policies. Okay? Okay, we go to number 3. No? So, way number 3 is to foster, no, what we call an equitable and an inclusive workplace. No? So, remember, employers should always look to promote a fair and equitable workplace. No? Make sure that in terms of hiring practices, we are free of biases and employees are paid fairly when compared to other employees in your company, and all complaints are taken seriously. No? Now, of course, if an investigation reveals that a violation of your policies occurred, you have to take some corrective action to remedy the situation and prevent it from occurring. So remember to also administer your disciplinary action policy on a consistent basis regardless on who is involved. Okay? So having an equitable and inclusive workplace will definitely help you build a reputable or a trusted HR department. As an HR practitioner or an HR professional, we have to be on the neutral ground, no? Whenever there are concerns, no, affecting us. We have to really foster that kind of inclusive workplace. Okay, and that is one way that employees will test us whether they can trust us. Okay, so having that kind of atmosphere that we have an equitable and inclusive workplace will definitely boost the trust or confidence of employees to us. Okay, so of course that's number 4. No, it's easier to say, but always remember that our actions will mirror, no, how people will perceive us. No? That's why it's important for us to always make sure that kung ano yung sinasabi natin, we try to do it to the best of our ability. Okay? So that's number 4. No? So that's way number 4 of building, no, or at least building trust in the workplace. Number 5 way is to train your HR team. If you are the HR manager, we have to adequately train our HR on how employment laws impact your business and how to properly respond to employee complaints, conduct effective investigation, handle leave requests, and manage other important responsibilities. Okay? It's very important for us na it's not just one person being the trusted one in the HR department. Kailangan yung ating team would always have that sense na other employees can actually trust them. So it's very important sa atin yan na other people will trust, no, the other HR people. Okay? So how do we address this? So we need to be able to train our team regarding this. So kailangan nating turuan sila on how to respond to employee complaints, no? Probably also conduct effective investigations if they are handling mga disciplinary actions. So yan yung importante pagdating sa building the trust. So we need to train our HR team for this one. Number 6, no? Way number 6 when it comes to building trust with our HR department is to hold our supervisors accountable. Okay? Remember, there are few things that can undermine HR more than supervisors going rogue. No? So, ibig sabihin nito, when supervisors do not support the policies that we create, no? So, sometimes what happens is, instead that they help us enforce the company policy, nawawala yung accountability nila. Okay? So in this case, it's important for us to recognize that line managers or department heads, no, meron silang accountability pagdating sa implementation of HR policies. Okay? Now, here are five behaviors that will support the line manager from promoting health, well-being, and engagement. No? So, itong i-discuss ko actually came from a previous webinar also that we have conducted in the past where we talked about the line manager's role and responsibility. Okay? So, ano yung five behaviors na kailangan mapakita ng line managers, no? Number one in the list would be being open, fair, and consistent with their employees, no? Of course, what does this mean, no? Kailangan ang behavior ng isang supervisor or manager is be positive and be appreciative of the employees. They should also promote respect and openness for their employees. They should also remain calm, no, under pressure. Okay? And be consistent, fair, and kind. Okay? So, yan ang, kumbaga, sinasabi natin, standard natin para masabi natin that our line managers are accountable. Okay? So, that's the first area. The second behavior of line manager is handling conflict and people management issues. Okay? So, one of the areas that managers or supervisors have to be skilled in is conflict management. So that means dealing with employee conflict early and in an impartial manner. No? Ayaw natin, for example, that a line manager tries to promote favoritism. Yan ang iiwasan natin dapat with our line managers. Okay? Also, line managers should address people management issues. Hindi laging dapat si HR ang first line of defense. Dapat ang line manager or department head should be the one to provide the way to address people management concern. So, whenever there are issues, for example, such as bullying and abuse, no, hindi naman dapat laging ipasa kay HR, kundi dapat meron silang gawin with regards to issues such as yung binanggit ko. And, of course, there should be that appropriate support, no, for the team. No? So, they should be able to provide support to the team and use organizational resources when appropriate. Okay? So, that's the second behavior that we'd like to see from a line manager, no, so that we can hold them accountable. Okay? Number three is providing knowledge, clarity, and guidance. Okay? As a line manager. So what does this mean? No? Ibig sabihin nito, they should be clear about the roles and expectations that they have with their employees. They should demonstrate the understanding of the employees' roles and provide clear feedback. Okay? Also, another behavior of a line manager is to provide guidance and advice. Okay? So, giving advice to employees if it's appropriate, no? And making sure that they make time for people. Okay? So, kailangan na bibigyan nila ng attention yung kanilang employees. So, hindi lang si HR ang dapat nagbibigay ng oras, kundi yung line manager should be able to also provide the appropriate time for the employees. And of course, being reliable. So reliability is a behavior of being decisive, following up on action points, and taking responsibility for problem solving. So yan ang mga behaviors natin for the line manager. Finally also is yung building, no, sustaining relationships, no? So that means that we have a concern, no? As a line manager, dapat meron silang concern for the well-being of their employees. Hindi lang nila dapat isipin na tao nila yon. So dapat meron silang consideration and concern with regards to the employees. Also, in building sustainable relationship, line managers have to take interest in individuals. Okay? Kailangan interesado sila na makilala yung mga tao na meron sila, no? Also, kailangan din ng sociability, no? Ibig sabihin, dapat hindi naman laging puro trabaho yung pinag-uusapan. Kailangan, no, they should also establish and interact with employees in a friendly and sociable way, no? Sabi nga natin, kailangan as a line manager, madali lang din silang lapitan. Okay? And of course, the availability of the line manager to provide opportunities for the employees to speak one-to-one. No? By the way, no, yun yung, for me, no, yan yung isang practice na ginagawa ko before na I would always try to have a one-to-one with the employees on a weekly basis para alam ko kung ano yung nangyayari sa kanya, and at the same time, whatever issues that is affecting the person, the manager could be able to provide such support or possible solution. Okay? So, that's another behavior of a line manager. The last one is supporting development. No? It's important for a line manager to be able to actively support the development of their employees. Kailangan, one of the conversations that line managers should have, no, with their employees is about career development. So, you have to take the time to discuss the employees' career development prospects in the company. No? Kasi nowadays, yun yung hinahanap na rin ng ating mga employees na meron bang career development that is present in the company. Okay? So we have to explore as well the development opportunities for them in terms of career progression and development for employees. So remember, ang career development is not always upward, no? It could be horizontal. Okay? So hindi naman ibig sabihin kailangan ma-promote kagad yung employee, kundi kailangan no, maka-build siya ng skill set, no, or the breadth of knowledge and skills ng employees will determine yung kanyang career path in the company. So mas maganda minsan na bigyan mo ng added responsibility, no? Bigyan mo siya ng task, for example, or projects that will expand yung kanyang skill set. So those are, behaviors that will support the development of employees. So those are very important things to take note if you'd want your supervisors to be accountable to HR. No? So again, try to look at the 5 behaviors that I've mentioned as part of making your supervisors accountable. Okay, number 7, no, is to document. Okay, through documentation, we are able to demonstrate compliance, no, with various laws, supporting employment decisions, and ensuring that everyone is on the same page. No, so documenting both disciplinary and non-disciplinary discussions and keeping such records in the employee's files. No? So retaining this employee information is important in case of a dispute later on. Okay? So documentation is an important way that HR will build the trust. Okay? So when you are in HR, you have to learn how to document things. Okay? So here are examples of what we can do, particularly on the aspect of employee discipline. Okay? When you document a disciplinary issue, here are certain things to remember, no? So that you can have an effective and complete disciplinary documents, no? Number 1, kailangan sa employee discipline, dapat may description ka ng problema na nangyari. Okay? Number 2, kailangan ilagay mo rin ano yung explanation of conduct expectations and the requirements for the improvement for that person. Okay? Also, in terms of documenting a disciplinary issue, kailangan alam ng employee ano yung future consequences. So, for example, kapag nabigyan siya ng memo of warning, dapat alam niya na if ever no, naulit yung mismong actions na yon, no, future consequences would mean na pwedeng mag-escalate or tumaas yung kanyang penalty. No? Another thing to consider when documenting a disciplinary issue is meron ba siyang prior warning or disciplinary action before? Okay? So, kailangan titingnan natin yan. That's why kailangan mo ng proper documentation. Kasi, pag wala kang documentation sa employee discipline, that will affect no, yung trust ng employee sa'yo. Kasi, pwedeng the documentation will tell otherwise kapag meron ba siyang previous disciplinary action. No? Also, another important thing sa employee discipline is that you provide a space for the employee to respond and acknowledge yung kanyang memorandum. So, always remember that kapag meron kayong memorandum or disciplinary action na pina-implement sa isang employee, make sure that he or she can respond and acknowledge doon sa kanyang memorandum, yung memo na binigay mo sa kanya. Kailangan makapag-sign siya to acknowledge such disciplinary action. Okay? Now, again, in terms of documenting the disciplinary action, you have to record specific actions, particularly looking at yung who, what, when, and where, kung ano yung nangyayari. No? And then, of course, avoid subjective assessments. Try to provide objective facts as much as possible. And of course, describe the negative impact of the behavior of the employee. Also consider to meet with the employee in a very timely manner. Okay? Kailangan timely yung pagbibigay natin ng employee discipline. And of course, when meeting with an employee concerning a disciplinary action, you have to remember the following guidelines. No? Make sure that you meet them in a timely manner after the facts have been verified but not at the heat of the moment. No? So medyo palipasin mo pag medyo mataas yung emotions. No? Also, make sure that there is an appropriate time and place to meet privately. No? Remember, don't discuss disciplinary action in front of co-workers. Dapat in private. Okay? Also, make sure that you are clear and objective about the disciplinary action, no? And point to the consequences if the behavior continues to progress. Okay? Always remember also when meeting the employee with the disciplinary action to adopt a calm and business-like manner. No? Try to avoid being emotional to the employee. Okay? Also remember to listen to the employee as part of documenting the disciplinary issue. No? Make sure also to ensure understanding of all the concerns coming from the employee. No? And try to remember to be clear, be direct, and respectful to the employee being disciplined. Okay? So that's an important part of the employee discipline. Okay? Now, finally, no, way number 8 is to get feedback. Okay? Getting feedback, no, is a sign that you also trust and value, no, the feedback that you get from your employees. No? So, soliciting employee feedback about their work environment through uh, employee surveys, one-on-one interviews or one-on-one meetings, and exit interviews. No? So during staff meeting, ensure that each employee is heard. No? And when employees do share the feedback, no, let them know that you will take their suggestions seriously. Okay? Remember to recognize employees for their contributions and give them credit for any ideas that are ultimately implemented. No? Sometimes, it's the small things that will really count. No? Minsan, yung pagtatrust ng employee sa atin are the small gestures. For example, kapag meron silang sinuggest na talagang na-implement natin, then we need to give them feedback. No? Give them feedback in a very timely manner. That will, make them feel that they are valued, that they can trust you, no, as their HR person to go to. No? So getting feedback is an important part in the role of HR, and at the same time building trust, no, in the HR department. Now, always remember itong mga characteristics of having effective feedback. No? So what are the 4 main characteristics of effective feedback? Okay? Number 1, kailangan yung feedback should contain specific examples rather than generalizations. Okay? Also, the feedback should be factual and clear. No? It should be accurate. Also, that feedback should be objective. We should avoid biases and prejudice to our feedback. No? And finally, number 4, kailangan ang feedback natin should be timely. No? Feedback should be given as soon as possible after the completion of a task. So these are the characteristics of effective feedback that we have to remember. Okay? So again, those are the ways, no, that I'd like to give to you in terms of building trust, no, in the HR department. So I will pause here for a while for us to be able to look at some questions or comments that we have gathered from our chat box today. Ayan. So, Amy, kindly help us if there are any comments or questions that were raised. Kindly help us in the question or any comments from the chat box.
first off, we would like to thank everyone who's still here with us. No, thank you for staying and for intently listening to our session, learning session for this afternoon. If you would like to share questions or comments or anything that you knew you've learned today, or just a valid or also a validation of what you're already doing in your respective companies or organizations, you may put them on the chat box so we can acknowledge. And while we're waiting for that, again, we'd like to invite you to follow our Facebook page. It's called Talent Reach. That's where we announce um, and we share, practical tips, not just on HR but also on improving employee skills, also on emotional intelligence and other practical things that could further improve your business and your profession. Okay, so maybe Ronnie, you can share the uh,
Yeah. Siguro before I share the announcements for our next coming webinars, no, I would like to just engage the participants and using the chat box, no, I'd like you to tell us, no, amongst the eight, no, especially for those who are taking notes from our webinar right now, no. So, which among the eight steps resonated with you? Ayun. So, I'd like to ask you right now. So I provided you eight ways, no? So kindly type in the chat box, no, para sa inyo. Ano yung way or strategy that I provided that really resonated with you on building trust in the HR department? Ayan. Sige. And then let's try to read, no, kung ano yung ita-type ng ating mga participants.
ayan. So, okay, from Lorraine, hold the supervisor accountable. Right.
Mhm.
Okay, and documenting disciplinary and non-disciplinary actions. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is also a good question from Renz. Sir, any additional tips po for young HRs? Challenging din po pag younger ang HRs employees. Thank you.
Right. Well, that's a very good question, no? Thank you for that question. Was that Renz? Tama?
Yes.
Renz was asking that question. No? So, I think, no, I could probably answer that because I used to be also a young HR, no, in our team before, no. So in that case, it's very important na when you are a young HR, no, to always make sure that you provide the accurate information, the proper procedures, no, that you're supposed to follow, because of course that's what people are expecting from us, no, that we have to know kung ano yung mga proper procedures or policies, no. Ayan. So again, it's very important for us na to keep, no, communicating and be objective about it. Alam ko sometimes we can be very emotional kasi some leaders, for example, can be intimidating. Okay? So kapag medyo may intimidation tayong nararamdaman, especially if we're quite new in the position, we need to really prepare ourselves in terms of communication. Kasi sometimes the way we communicate also may affect, no, why other people can intimidate us, no. Now, ako ang lagi ko lang rule of thumb kapag people tends to intimidate me is I try to stick, no, to the important points of what we have to discuss. Sometimes kasi when you engage in other questions or answers, no, that's the opportunity kasi for intimidation. So always try to stick to the facts, stick to kung ano yung alam natin with regards to, no, be open if ever may mga questions na itatanong sa inyo. If you don't know the answer, make sure lang that you are ready to source out the information. Minsan, you have to get back to them, no? So, very important yung follow-up kapag meron silang itinatanong at hindi natin alam. Make sure to follow up on kung ano yung tamang dapat gawin. So, those are the tips that I can give you, especially for a young HR like you.
Right. So thank you. Thank you for all those who are putting in, no, the ways, the different ways which resonated with them in terms of building trust in the HR department. Again, for those who are interested to get the exact presentation material. So if you've attended, if this isn't your first time to attend, and if you've received our presentation materials, you know that there's always a wealth of information that we share into those materials, and we're only offering it for a very minimum price of 199. So if you're interested, just send us an email at italentreach@gmail.com. That will also include an e-certificate of attendance. You will be receiving that. For those who have already availed of the program materials, you will be getting it 3 days after the webinar. So just make sure that you send it by tomorrow, no? So that you will be able to get those materials. All right. So just to share with you, we have an upcoming online workshops, and also we would like to invite you to our. We're coming back. We're going to be doing a face-to-face um, workshop, and it will be one of our best-selling workshop. Okay, but first off, I'd like to invite you to join us for this new program, online program that we're offering, which will happen on April 28th. By request, we moved it at a later date so that more people can actually be able to adjust on their schedule. So it's going to be on April 28th. It's a 2 hour online workshop, again, using Zoom. And it's Mastering Hiring Strategy. This is an advanced course on interview skills. So we actually offer this as an in-house program, but we're now offering it as a public program. So you can avail of, especially for those who are in the recruitment, or those who are managers who are in also doing recruitment for their departments. This is a
Mhm.
really good workshop to attend to. And also, our face-to-face workshop will be happening uh, on in June. Yeah, so it's job evaluation, designing pay and salary structure. This is one of our most attended workshop, and we're going to be doing it face to face. This is a whole day event. We'll be announcing the venue and the other details via our Facebook page. We'll also be sending, if you're on our database, we'll also be sending you information about it. But I would highly suggest that you join or follow our Facebook page so that you will be informed as soon as we announce the details for this workshop. And again, thank you very much to everyone who joined. Here are other platforms where you can find us. For those who missed the beginning or wasn't able to join, don't worry, because we're going to be posting this on our Facebook page. No? But it will be siguro by the end of the week, no? If just to allow everyone else to be able to watch the replay. I'll also send. I'll For those who registered and was not able to watch, I will be sending the link so that it's going to be easier for you to uh, go to the or watch the replay. Yeah. So again, thank you very much, and I hope that you were able to find this worth your time.
Yes, no. And again, we'd like to invite you for the future pre webinars, no, coming from Talent Reach, no. So again, you can also reach out to us if you have any topic that you'd like us to discuss on a free basis, on a free webinar basis, no. So we'll be more than happy to provide that, no. With that, no, we end our webinar session for this afternoon. So thank you very much for joining us for this short and informative session for everyone. See you again in our next webinar.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye bye.